But in any case, we are no longer in our old format. We have moved on. We have evolved. We started reading more books.
We matured.
We've grown up.
Or the thing that, depending on how old you are, matured.
But in any case. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Pointless Discourse with myself, Hoppocalypse, and Itisdpayne.
Hello, it is me, Itisdpayne. And Hop and I have been chatting for almost 2 hours.
We've been very productive today.
It is very much like the old school recordings where we're like, we're just here to yap. And then we're like, oh, we should probably record.
Yeah, at some point. I guess technically that's why we originally met up. But no.
Yeah, Gremlin, whatever. Oh my goodness, I was gifted this game that is like TFT, but it's all PvP. PvE. Mm-hmm. It's got a lot of like that auto chess strategy style stuff. It's called Godless.
Okay.
Let's see. I might still have the link right here that I could send you. But anyway, I was streaming it, and it's pretty fun.
Online game.
And let's see who's gonna follow it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just looked it up.
Yeah. So it's pretty fun. Like pretty much you have a shrine, protect shrine from all incoming things. And I don't feel like there's so much synergy stuff that I know I haven't like even scratched the surface. Mm-hmm. But for example, like pretty much you get 3 mana to start, and then you can spawn in whatever you want. You can get an upgrade later. It's a roguelite, so like you can upgrade your stuff and then hopefully make later runs easier for yourself to get farther. But but then like after you spend it all, you get 1 mana back every time. Well, I found my last run of the night using building up nature energy. I had because you choose 3 like tiles, 3 abilities to start, and they can be like a spell, a summon, or like an object that you can put in there, and they all cost between 1 to 3 mana. So I saw that I can summon a mushroom soldier that cost 1 mana, and it was 1 hit, 1 damage, but every hit that it did, it would add a point of poison, and however many stacks of poison is how much damage it would do. And so my whole strategy, it was a terrible like thing, but it was just so much fun to be like just these huge dudes that would just mow down my mushroom boys, and then it's just like more just to the point there's like 300 of them on there, and then there's not literally 300, but like if you put your tiles in forest tiles, they get like 2 health per turn. And so I don't know, it was just a very enjoyable thing. I made it past the boss and immediately got destroyed because I wasn't able to actually build up any defenses around my shrine.
You're protecting.
Yeah, so like I pretty much had the strategy of I want to place my shrine on a forest tile, which keeps getting it health. And I would have had a lot more health, but then the second match, the enemies were able to put poison on me. And so I was able to have enough healing from the forest tile to counteract the poison they put on me, but it means I wasn't gaining anymore. So you like start off with like 35 health, and then you can like, if you play it right and have your shrine sit on a forest tile, you could end with like 70 health if you just kind of sit there. But it also goes really fast. So yeah, it was fun.
That seemed fun.
But yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that's your little life update. I guess for listeners, because we're recording these last 2 episodes very close to each other, my life update is I went to the farmer's market today and got fresh summer berries because fresh produce is the best produce if you have it available to you.
Holy moly, it's raining.
For you.
Yeah, I just looked at it. Was like getting dark, and I'm like, I better turn on the lights. And I looked over, and I'm like, oh, rain. Probably means it'll be mugging out.
Hopefully it breaks the heat for you.
I'll find out. Was a decision made what to do with the blackberries? Or
Strider,
that be a longer conversation?
Strider said both sound good, so I don't know. I guess it comes down to, do I want a dessert or do I want a breakfast?
Yes, dessert for breakfast.
I mean, I technically could. It has fruit in it. It's breakfast. But realistically, I have plenty of fruit. I could do the oatmeal stuff that I was talking about. For anyone confused now, before we recorded, I was telling Itisdpayne, I got blackberries. And blackberries are really nice. But I feel like blackberries and raspberries always go the fastest out of the berries. I feel like I can find ways to make blueberries and strawberries last like maybe up to 5 days. Cherries, I feel like, can last a little bit longer than that. Blackberries and raspberries, I feel like as soon as they like get picked, they're just like, I'm withering away. Please eat me. I will die.
Relatable.
So I think it'd be nice to have like a dessert with it, because I think I have most everything. I might not have fresh limes to go with a blackberry lemon bar. But that also sounds just like such a nice summer dessert, you know?
Mm-hmm. That just reminds me of like how people put fruit and like vegetables in their water, like lemons or cucumbers.
Oh, like the spa waters and stuff like that.
But like the guy that I work with, that's like a bit of a health nut. He was telling me that like he was doing some research, and then he has a friend who's like a it's either a chemist or a biologist. I don't remember. But he was asking him, like, because he saw this video, he's like, is this true? And he's like, yeah, most likely. It all started off, like, apparently there's this, like, $300 water bottle that all it does is when you put your water in it, it spins it.
Okay.
So, and because water in streams is moving, but like water that's like in the pipes and stuff, because it isn't moving, it's like, if I'm remembering this correctly, he was saying that moving water is H2O, and then like water that's sitting in pipes just because it's sitting there is like something chemically changes about it. Like it's still okay to drink, but it's some of like the refreshing properties are lost because it's just sitting in the pipe. I know this is like secondhand thing. This is a truncated version of this conversation, which he was telling me that like cucumbers, for some reason, when you put it in water, like it does the same thing that the $300 water bottle does.
Oh, that's fun.
And like it changes the water. If anyone's listening to this and is just like, well, here's this, I'm like, I don't care.
Yell at us in comments that we may or may not actually interact with, because we record these episodes so far ahead of time.
About a month later. It's so I don't know. I'm like, that's easy to test. Like I'm like, you know what? I'll just buy an extra cucumber or two at work. I'll slice a couple slices in there, throw it in my water bottle. What's the harm? I have cucumber flavored water. Oh no. So, I don't know. I'll try it, and I'll get back.
Yeah, let me know how much more hydrated you feel. The thing I was excited about, though, is, well, go ahead. You can finish your thought.
I don't know what the thought was. I said something, and then like I was like, "Oh, she got something," and then my brain forgot immediately what I was.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got excited because squash seems to be in season in our area now, and so I grabbed a couple of zucchini and yellow squash, and there's a pasta recipe that I like that just uses like a bunch of summer vegetables.
Ratatouille.
I don't have the time and energy for all of that. I always like after watching the movie Ratatouille, I had no clue what it was, and then I watched it getting made like as a video, and I was like, it's a lot of layered vegetables baked for a very long time.
Yep. It's pretty much a vegetable sauce for pasta.
But I thought when they eat it in France, it's thin veggies, like
Yeah,
all
it's
layered up.
yeah, I don't know. It depends, I guess, on what recipe you follow. Pretty much, like if you just get a mandolin, like you can slice all that stuff up pretty quick. Um, and then then it would just be layering. Oh, Hop's sending me a picture to prove me wrong. No, that is cheese.
It squashes.
Squash. It does look good.
Yeah, but I just mean I don't want to take up all that time.
That's why you make Strider to do it while we're recording.
No, I think the one that I do is pasta primavera. Let me see if I can find a picture of the recipe that I use.
I don't know if I've made that.
Oh yeah, this one has like red onions and stuff. So this is like a nice like light pasta where it's not sauce heavy.
Yeah, something about pasta. We're gonna get hungry in the middle of this.
I ate.
I ate it slightly before, but it's just like if we talk about food, then next thing we know, we're like, why am I hungry? But my brother, I'm going on finally taking a vacation after almost 5-ish years of never taking one. And I'm going down with my brother, him, his girlfriend, my niece. They're all going down to Ocean City, and so I'm joining them down there. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna cook. Okay, your girlfriend has been pestering you and me. Like, when am I gonna cook for you guys? I'm like, you guys said, hey, you don't have to help cover the cost of renting out the house. Just cover like some food. And so I was like, okay, I will make some food. What do you guys eat? And when I said that, I meant more, what does the picky child eat? And I was thinking something like noodles. My brain thinking like, okay, maybe like a ramen or something might be nice. Like, maybe a dry ramen for the niece, so that way she doesn't have to deal with the soup. And he's like, oh yeah, like his girlfriend loves pasta and the niece loves noodles, and it's just like, that'd be good. Said pasta, and I'm like, okay, so not like ramen. I'm like, how about a carbonara? Because I've been wanting to make that again. And he's like, what the what? And pretty much said, I'm like, yeah, that. And he's like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. So I need to go find the recipe and get the right items.
Carbonara is good. I last night made a ricotta pasta sauce. That was also really good. That one I got from my library. I've been getting cookbooks, and like sometimes I only pull 1 or 2 recipes out, but like, it's nice to have something else in the rotation that isn't like blasting me with video ads telling me to buy a car, and I'm like, shh, I just need to know what to mix in the sauce.
Your books do that?
But the ricotta pasta, I have a picture on my phone because that's how I keep my recipes now too, because I'm like, I should just write down recipe cards, but
soon it's gonna show up on your Instagram, just like, this isn't a book, but it's something I made from a book.
It was ricotta cheese, Parmesan, butter, lemon zest and lemon juice, salt and pepper, some prosciutto, and then onion, garlic, frozen peas. And you basically kind of like mix up all the like cheeses together, and you use some of the pasta sauce or pasta water from cooking the pasta to thin out the sauce and melt the butter. And then you cook the peas in when the pasta's done, so that's cooking at the same time. And you just mix it all together, and you top it with crispy prosciutto.
Sounds good. I'm more of a frozen S kind of person, but hey.
Frozen Q's.
Frozen Q's.
Because what's the, for being polite, your P's and Q's.
Oh, yeah. So, speaking about cookbooks, now it's time to mention our favorite cookbooks. Actually, I think I only own two.
I own, I guess they're cookbooks. They're for baking. The one lady from, oh, what was the YouTube channel that got in trouble for not
You
paying
gotta
people
be
and
more
for being
specific.
sorry, the YouTube channel that got in trouble for not giving proper airtime and payment to like people of color. Bon Appetit, maybe? Where there was the lady that
Maybe,
was
maybe.
like, I'm gonna recreate your childhood favorites but make them gourmet.
Yeah, that sounds like.
She has her own channel now. But yeah, I got some of her books for like baking stuff. And I've made a couple things from there. They're pretty good. The only other equivalent books we have are cocktail making books. But those are starters. I don't really
I
read those.
I have a Lord of the Rings cookbook and a noodle cookbook.
I almost bought the Stardew Valley cookbook. I saw that the other weekend.
Oh man, every time I get a Stardew Valley TikTok, I was like, reminds me of all Hops TikToks. But
Back in
there's
my peak internet time.
more publicly active internet time. There it was pretty much a comedian was just like, yeah, me and my boyfriend. Oh, that's what it was. That's what I was like. Yeah. So I own a house, a farm, with my boyfriend, in a video game. Yeah, and then one person's like, Stardew Valley? She's like, yeah, you know. and she's like, well, sorry for the rest of you guys, but since we have a Stardew head in here, and goes on, just like, was going, talking about all, and then she's like, so, in the game, my boyfriend gave me an engagement ring. Not because it meant anything, like, special or anything. It's because the ring gives you light at night, and so we could stay up later and farm and save. So, she delivers it a lot better than I could. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, it was... I don't know. It always cracked me up because it's like when you were doing a lot of TikTok stuff was when I was... Well, I only got TikTok to be like, I'll support my friend. And then it's just like, I don't know what any of this is. It's like, I think that's a Fire Emblem person. Maybe. I don't know. That was a lot of the things. I feel
Yeah,
like I
mine
still
was
get
just
a lot of stuff. Like
yeah,
that.
a lot of mine was just sad boys on video games. I get those occasionally now, but most of mine now is like I'm trying to think of what the latest. Oh, for a while I used to get the ones where it sounds like the audio is looping wrong. I don't know how else to explain it, but it'd be like a video of like a bunch of cut like stock footage of people making pizza. And it's like, did you know when you cheese the pizza and you put the pizza on the cheese and then you put the sauce on the pizza with the cheese that there's cheese with your pizza?
I've seen that.
I don't know how to explain that, but I laughed so hard at one of those that I proceeded to get like a whole bunch of them. But they kind of lose the shtick when like you know exactly what's gonna happen.
Yeah, there's a handful I really like where it's just there's one called Useless Facts, and it's like, do you know if you put a apple under the water, it gets wet, and that's the whole thing. There's another one where it's just like, dolphins are an amphibian. Oh, no, I forgot what it was, but it was something about fish, and it was just like. It was just like super obvious. They're all like very obvious things. I know I see them and I send them to my friends. I'm just like, here you go.
Let's see. Oh, one of the latest one I liked was have you seen the Chick-fil-A commercials where they like pretend like okay, I'm not going to say pretend, but the ones where the Chick-fil-A commercials are like they'll do things above and beyond for their customers to convince people that Chick-fil-A is like a good place to eat. I saw one where they did a spoof on it, and it starts out where they're like, yeah, we couldn't afford my child's treatment. And it's like, where is this going? And then the Chick-fil-A employee's like, yeah, I noticed that they got 4 chicken sandwiches instead of 5, and I thought that was weird. And they're like, yeah, my daughter, who at the time wanted to go by Chris, we sent them to conversion therapy. The Chick-fil-A employee was like, I was so taken aback by what was going on in their family. So we went and covered all the expenses for the therapy. And the mom's like, they brought my daughter back. I'm so thankful. I was like, but it's like told in the format that like some of the recent Chick-fil-A commercials are. So like it's a very good, like, production wise, it's very funny and it's done really well. But it's just
I don't know. There really isn't a lot of fast food restaurants that I want to eat at now. What I've been getting stuck into is we put a little dirt in the pub for the dirt man.
That's very good. That's very Charlie Day. I've seen that one.
I knew it was catchy because I was just sitting there at work, like just walking around, and it was like, I'm like, what the heck am I singing? It's like,
there's another one that's really funny. I don't know if this particular comedian does all of his like this, but he kind of did it. Like, have you watched like Drunk History?
I've seen bits and pieces.
Okay, it's kind of like in the same format where he's doing his stand up and then
it's like a
skit.
Okay.
Like cut in between.
Yes.
His is about talking about trying to buy the board
Secret
game.
Hitler.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
That was really good.
What's funny is I seen that one, and then shortly after I saw another TikTok, which was not a skit, of this person was graduated, I think, in college. And it cuts in the middle of this dad during Father's Day, just like, oh no, for audience, listening audience, just rubbing his head in despair. And it's like, don't tell me you just asked me that question. He's like, what? No, I don't understand. And it goes a little bit, and the dad's like, did you really ask me if Hitler's alive? And her whole family, and she's like, I don't know, I'm asking, and just like, I didn't pay attention in history class. And he's like, it's very obvious you didn't. And the dad's like legitimately distressed, and he like, you can see his soul hurts, and he's like, I failed as a father, like for you to not know this basic information. And it's just like, when did World War II even go? And the whole like family's like this, and she's like, oh, I didn't. It's like sorry, I don't know history. And then it's just like the dad's like outburst, like, because you don't have to, and just like screamed at, and that's like where the video ends, and like all the comments were like, I relate with the dad. It's like
That's so funny. There was one that I saw earlier. I forgot to save it to send it to a friend, but it was like, the caption was, I've been with my boyfriend for 3 years, and I just realized he eats ice cream like a 3-year-old. And he's sitting there. He looks like he just woke up. He's holding the carton of ice cream, but he's holding the spoon like really close to him. For audio listeners, it's basically like when I think of holding a spoon, I think of holding it like, oh my god, how do I describe this? Like underhanded, but he was holding it like overhanded. And he was like shoveling ice cream into his mouth, and then in the video he starts to rub his eye with the hand holding the spoon. And someone was the comments were the best part, because someone was like, "Oh, is him watching his cartoons?" And so
man, if we were doing the old style of this show, one of the episodes would be TikTok trends, and we would rank them.
Yeah, that would be very fun. But in any case, we are no longer in our old format. We have moved on. We have evolved. We started reading more books.
We matured.
We've grown up.
Or the thing that, depending on how old you are, matured.
But in any case, like I said, we've read more books, so we're here to talk about books today. Who would have thought?
Yeah. We are now in our peak millennial form, where we just read books. I don't have room for houseplants.
I have plants and pets.
And
I just came back from the farmer's market, so trifecta.
I woke up and did laundry. That's pretty much all I did today.
I know. Yesterday someone texted me. They're like, how's your night going? I was like, I'm laying in bed watching Starter play Elden Ring DLC. I'm cozy. And the person texted me back, oh my god, I'm laying in bed reading. This is the perfect Friday night.
Friday. Gonna stay in bed. It's Friday.
Anyway, before we lose track again, we have given each other very specific requests for books. And we've each come up with books to fit those requests.
Double?
And in order to decide who gets to go first about talking about their book, we roll dice because if it's not obvious, we're nerds.
Yeah.
So
Not we. If you couldn't guess by us reading, talking about books and TikToks, and not wanting to leave the house. All right, I'm rolling. We're rolling
okay.
D6s.
I was gonna plug Payne runs quite a few tabletop RPGs that you can also go listen to. And this coming weekend, from when this episode is released, he has his charity palooza.
Oh. Didn't realize we're that close. Whoa. And guys, guess what? Next week, I won't know how it went.
You'll find out in an episode from 2 months from now.
You'll find out when we start our next series.
So tune back in then. But for now, we roll dice.
Okay, I rolled my die. I don't know if you rolled yours, high or low.
D6 rolling for low, because that's what we did last week.
Okay. Why don't you tell me what you rolled?
I got a 5 this week.
Well, how does it feel to not go? Because I rolled a 1.
Oh, it's your turn to roll the 1.
I know.
Congratulations.
We're now tied. Okay, so quick synopsis of how this works. If this is your first episode, welcome. Hop has given me a very specific request. I given Hop a very specific request. I don't know. Whatever it is.
My quest for you is to go to H Mart.
Oh, see where we have to find a book for a prompt. We have a timer of 20 minutes, so that way we don't yap like we did before we hit record. I don't know. Some people might enjoy a 2-hour podcast. Not me.
Yeah. Spoiler-free zone. I know in a lot of our other series where we talk about movies, there are spoilers. These are quick book synopsises because we haven't read all of the books that we bring to each other, so we don't spoil them.
Yes.
So it's safe.
Mm-hmm. I do have some runner-ups for this, but it's weird runner-ups.
And that's totally fine. But yeah, so Payne's going to go into why the book fits the recommendation, a quick synopsis, and then who would recommend the book to.
Yes, I'm hitting the timer now. Now. There we go. Okay, so Hop gave me the prompt. A book that leaves you feeling like a single drop of water in a massive size of an ocean. So there were a couple books that came to mind. I'm going to give you my 2 runner-ups. Now, the reason why I put these runner-ups is because I've started these books. I have not finished them. But I feel like they would fit the prompt really well from what I know of them. I'm going to go because I think the second book I have here fits with what my actual book is. And I own these 2 runner-up books in person. My actual book, I don't. But the first one, bit of a chunker, is a little book called House of Leaves by Mark of Daniels.
I thought I bought that at one point, and I was going through my book collection, and I don't have it, I think. But I've heard it's a very good, play on horror. But yes. You can go ahead.
Pretty much if you guys ever played Call of Cthulhu or Delta Green, Delta Green would probably fit closer to this kind of vibe. It starts off... pretty much this book is 2 stories told back to back where this guy is writing he is editing and releasing according to will of this guy who watched this movie that doesn't exist but existed and it's very strange and everything. But as he writes, he kind of it just seems like he loses his hold on reality, and then the guy who is underneath, there's a chapter where it's just okay, he transcribed, edited there, and then he in the underneath section, what is that, the sub space or whatever,
footnotes,
yeah, he's writing his own story. So it's just there's this one chapter, like I think it's like the second or third chapter. It's more of the where the all the notes are is bigger than what is actually happening, because he's just like, yeah, blah blah blah. But it's, I will say, from what I heard about this book, audiobook does not give it justice. For this is, I guess, for visual listeners. Here, I'm just gonna open up to a random page in here, and let's see. It should be weird. Yep, this is just in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
I there's the script.
Like a graph with one plot point.
Yep. And it's just like there's blank pages. Hold on, there's another one that's it is pretty. There we go. So like here's another page where
the format's all over.
And it's like a box filled with gibberish and
notes on the side.
Yeah,
the margins.
and then like the thing is all like cattywampus. So I feel like you just get lost while reading this book, and I haven't made it very far, and I've been trying to, but I have a hard time reading physical books in my current setup. Maybe if I had a couch. My second book is, I'm about halfway through this. This book is called The Earth Speaks, by a bunch of different people. It is a collection of short stories, poems, and stuff, all of pretty much sharing different parts of the earth, and like poems and stuff that is based off of like waking up in the morning, life, nature, and everything. And it's really neat. Just one of the things that is pretty interesting that I liked about it, from what I've read, I'm trying to see if I can quickly find it in here. Pretty much, Steve Van Mater and Bill Wheeler, I don't know if I'm saying their names right, when they were making this book, they didn't go after like big poetry people, or people who are known for writing poetry. They went after, let's see, does it say in the back here? No, but pretty much they did get some people who wrote poetry. I want to make sure I say it right here. I can't find it, but I should have found it. I like just remembered this, but anyway, they found like a bunch of people who are like, oh, here we go. This whole thing, it's I'm just going to read the paragraph because it gives a good synopsis of what this is. The Earth Speaks is our collection of images, impressions recorded by those who lived in close contact with the natural world, those who discovered its essence and were able to capture on paper the magic and meaning of that discovery. The journal contains writings of naturalists and natives, poets and philosophers, scientists who went beyond analysis to seeing, and ordinary people who were able to discover for themselves how life works on this planet and what it might mean for themselves and their children. So it's not a whole bunch of poets. It's like people from all different walks of life that are close with the earth and interact with it, observed it, work to keep it safe, writing poems and short stories about Earth. And I don't think this has been reprinted, so you gotta like either find it on eBay or Amazon or your used bookstore. Pretty much from what I heard, like there's a bookstore that pretty much as soon as this book comes in, it instantly goes out. But that leads into my actual book, which I know I mentioned on the podcast before, but it is I don't know. It was after I realized I can't really talk about House of Leaves because I haven't finished it or really made it far enough to feel comfortable talking about it.
Fair.
Is this book called, I'm going to send Hop the Goodreads link right now, a book called The Darkness Manifesto.
Oh, I do remember. I don't remember if it's recorded, but I do remember you told me about this.
I think it was recorded. I can't remember. If it is, it would have been last year-ish. But anyway, The Darkness Manifesto, it sounds like a novel that is based off of like, oh man, cults or something, and that it couldn't be farther from the truth. This book is all about light pollution and how light affects nature, affects humans, affects space, like of just how much our overuse of light affects the world around us. And it really made me think of how much like light affects me personally, like just in my own life, of how much it, like if you don't have the right set light, it could throw off your circadian rhythm for sleeping. How much it affects nature, because I learned through this book that a lot of there's a lot of like pollination that happens from nocturnal birds, but not nocturnal birds, nocturnal insects, but because of street lamps, they get confused and think it's daytime. So during the night when they would go kind of do what bees do during the day, it's not happening, which is like affecting nature. But then they're getting killed off because the way they would defend themselves during the day compared to how they can defend themselves at night is completely different. Because a bird is based off of movement, and so in the daytime they just kind of just stay still and kind of flutter, not like make a lot of movement. But in the nighttime they want to make a lot of movement because bats will eat them. And so like there's this whole like population of like moths and stuff that go and like help pollinate like different kinds of plants that are just getting destroyed because of like the way the world, like the natural order of things. So I thought that was interesting and just how much like it was interesting because they were saying like with how like the pictures of Earth, of how we see all the like the ways of light and everything going around, and just how like those like really cool space snapshots of Earth of just light. And they're like, yeah, that ain't great because it's affecting like birds and stuff as well, because like that's why birds in the city don't ever like they're supposed to go to sleep, but because there's so much light they don't know when, and it's affecting like their whole circadian rhythm, and it's throwing off nature like crazy. So it was pretty interesting to read stuff like that whole thing, because it's a whole thing that I didn't even think of until reading the book and seeing. I'm like, oh, okay. Like not even just nature, of just how much like. And I did a test. How much is
disconnected, yeah.
Yeah, and I even did a test with myself after reading this, where I put on a warmer light. So like our normal like LED lights that are white are pretty much is more powerful than the midday sun. But like your eyes like take in that, and you're like, it's daytime, so I shouldn't be tired. But when you start putting on warmer, like more orange and yellow lights, it's closer to twilight like hours, and it kind of starts like chemically getting your brain like ready for sleep. And so it's, I don't know, it was pretty interesting just reading that book. And I guess like with the prompt of single drop of water in the massive ocean, it was just like light I always looked at as how much it was useful, and how much like I'm like, oh yeah, it helps me stay up at night. Like I'm surrounded by 2 lights right now to make sure that the color balancing, not including all the light coming from my monitors. Like it does have its use, but it's just the overuse of it and like unregulated use is like what's harming. And the guy predicted, I don't know when the book came out. Let's see, when did it come out? I feel like it was somewhat recent, in 2020.
Okay.
He predicted that within, I think, the next 5 to 10 years, I believe, that there's going to start being mandates and stuff on how light is affected, like how, like especially at night, for just how much it is affecting the world. And it's like one of those things like, oh, light pollution. Well, it's not like I got to go up and move it out of the way. It's like, let's talk about real pollution. And it's like, well, light pollution is just as bad, if not worse, because of how much we're not paying attention to it. But I can already... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, with light pollution, people are just like, well, it's not making me sick. So when it really, in like some ways, is disrupting you and essentially gets you sick. But, you know.
Yeah, and it was interesting because, once again, I don't know how true this is, but apparently at the time of writing this, China was working on a satellite that would work like the moon and reflect sunlight at night down on their different cities, so that way they could get rid of the lights. The problem is with it is that it's brighter than moonlight. So
it's how much does it really change the core problem?
So, but it's still like interesting, like thought of how you can get rid of it, and like the moonlight. It's definitely not as powerful as, and it's and the guy, when he was writing it, he was talking about pretty much like, yeah, the night or light is definitely useful. It is amazing. It makes people feel safe, especially like when you're walking around at night, and that dark alley is not a dark alley. But at the same time, like if people were a little bit more comfortable with light, or LED technology was used better to illuminate things, for example, like motion sensor lights, or like pressure pads that would activate light for people to see.
So it's not just constantly on.
Yes,
as needed.
Yeah, like that's one of the solutions he was saying was like, yeah, like a motion detector light, like it's not on long enough to disrupt like insects and animals and stuff. It's just like the constant use where it's pretty much the sun is out.
As far as I can tell, yeah.
Yeah, so... but no, it was pretty interesting. It's not a huge read. I don't know if it's just shy of 200 and some 300 pages. It's like a 7-hour book on Audible. But no, it's I don't know. It really got me thinking more of this, of like just light use and everything, and it also like started a little kick of me just wanting to do, like I have another book, I forget what it is, but it's like farming and just farmers and conservationists and like pretty much how like food is affected, that I bought and just haven't been able to read yet because I'm dumb. No, just as I said, haven't really found the only two places I have to read in my apartment is either in this chair or on my bed, and
one's for sleeping and one's for gaming and making content.
So it's like until I get like a couch or something where it's just like, okay, and like all that's here is like my record player or just music. Yeah, that's pretty much sense. Yeah, but that's not an option at the moment.
Yeah, so who would you recommend your book for? Or what type of people?
I honestly think everyone should take a peek at this. Like, the audiobook is very good if you don't like reading. I think there's a lot of good information to take in with this. So I would say, hey, I think it's good. Like, it has good information and insight for everybody. But if you are curious about light pollution, or like if you are interested and want to read stuff about like how like nature, Earth is like affected, because it's not like, I feel like a lot of these books, sometimes it's very easy to be like, well, man is terrible, blah blah blah, look at all this, and it's not that, because it's like, no, like, light does have its use. It's just,
We invented reasons
yes,
for it, or we put a lot of power in inventing light
yeah,
at all times for a reason.
yeah. And so like he's not like, because I know some people are like, well, I don't want to read a book that's just like humanity is terrible. It's not that, like, it's not that kind of book. He's like, light is good, but at the same time, we gotta like be aware of how much light is affecting the world around us. So if you're interested in like kind of nature, kind of like, just if you're interested in books of like just how the world is affected and just learning, I don't know. It's one of those things. I feel like it's a good read for anybody, but at the same time, like, if I don't know, if you just want to know, like, just because he does give like simple solutions of like that you yourself could do, and kind of gives updates on how, like, there's across the world, and I think especially in Scandinavia, Scandinavian countries, like kind of northern Europe, they have darkness parks where there's no lights in there, and like they talked about how a lot of churches, I think like in Norway and Finland, are being converted into like bat conservatories. Excuse me. So, but yeah, that's I know it's not a clear answer, but yeah, if you like just
yes.
Yeah, yes, but like if you also like reading books on, I don't know, the effects on the planet, like environmentalists kind of stuff, that's good.
Cool. Nice. How did you do with your timer? Did it beep loudly in your ear?
No, I have 50 seconds left.
Do you want to fill it 50 seconds, or are you going to avoid the beeping?
I don't really have anything else to talk about, so let me tell you all about my friend, this die. No. Of course, I hold up the black die in front of the black background, so
with
no
your
one
black
can see.
shirt and your black chair.
You know what? People are gonna
your
think
black shelves.
Yeah, they're beautiful. I also
a lot of your book covers are black.
Yeah, because all the ones with color are literally right behind me. I did think it would have been funny for this, like a one that feels like a drop of water in the ocean would have been like, okay, everybody, I want to talk about Pathfinder. Okay, my time is now up, so you guys are all saved from Pathfinder.
For now. One day, Dpayne will find a way to include tabletop RPG systems.
Hey, we already made a character on first stream. It was a evil bard orc.
Yeah, something very silly like that. But all right, so then
it's your turn.
Yeah, I'll get into it. So Dpayne's oddly specific request for me was a book that grows a desire to live in that world. You can start the timer anytime you like, because I have a couple.
Start it.
All right. So for this prompt, I went through and I looked at all the fantasy books and science fiction books I've read recently, and all of them are such terrible views of that particular world that I was like, I'm sure the world itself is fine if I didn't live in this particular region, but because the book is centered on that, it's like saying like, oh, which anime world or video game world would you want to be in? None of them, because everyone I play, people are dying all the time. It's not safe.
You don't want to be one of the Hayato boyfriend birds? I don't know anything about that.
When you get to the special ending, no. Well, maybe. They might be fine. I feel like they're going to succumb to late stage capitalism soon too, so they're not safe. But
late stage sedum.
But so I ended up going with some more, like, I guess you would classify them as like cozier reads, where they are different worlds. Like, they're not contemporary, but they are like, see, we've been talking too long. But they are like more comforting. The stakes are a little bit lower. Like, there's things happening, but it's like not that stressful. I would say my main runner-up, like, I have one that I really like, but my runner-ups are this series. I forget the name of the series or if he gives it a particular name, but the first book in the series is Legends and Lattes, and I thought I owned a physical copy. I couldn't find it, but me and my friend ordered a fancy copy of Bookshops and Bone Dust, where for visual watchers on YouTube, it has like books and skulls like painted onto like the edges of the pages of the book. So that's fun. But basically, these books are.
Oh, I've seen these.
Yeah, these are basically if you take D&D and you have like no stakes. So you have like all different types like ogres and dwarfs and various warrior classes, wizards and mages, and they live together. But the main plot of these books, this one's like I think they call it a 0.5, where it's like a prequel to Legends and Lattes. Legends and Lattes is an orc has decided that she doesn't want to be an adventurer anymore, so she opens up a coffee shop. Then she ends up opening the coffee shop with I'm forgetting, like tiefling? A tiefling. Yeah. And then she has like a little ratkin who comes and bakes baked goods for her. And it's very nice. It's very sweet. There is like a little bit of like oh no, what's going to happen? But, you know, you can tell from the tone of the story, nothing bad's actually going to happen. This one is which I think is a fair critique, because they want you to believe that there are stakes, but you can tell that like nothing bad's going to happen. Especially true of the prequel, because the main characters in this are in the main story. So they're like, oh no, is she going to die? And I'm like, no. Duh. Spoiler, I guess. But Bookshops and Bone Dust is her story of her helping revitalize a bookstore. And I forget, you don't see it in, is there a picture? Oh, this is the picture of the original cover. So, like, it has, like, a little owlet dog thing, a cat creature, and then an orc, and they all hang out and sell books together. So, it's a very cozy world where it is fantasy, but it's not a type of fantasy where I'm like, there's a war happening.
Just a war on deals.
So those are like my runner-ups. My true answer I'm going to go with is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, which I also own a physical copy of. You were making a face, Itisdpayne. Are you familiar with this one?
Yes. Hold on. I'll let you talk while I type this in here, and then I might shuffle away for a second.
Do you also own a copy? He's shuffling away now. You heard it here now, audio listeners. But yeah, so for anyone who isn't familiar with this, I decided to go with this one because it's like, hey, look, it's the same exact edition with a stupid permanent sticker.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you get yours from Barnes & Nobles too?
I think so. Or I might have gotten mine from my local bookstore. But in any case, so this is basically, if you've watched the show Firefly, it's Firefly with like a little bit less stakes. Like the people are cool. It's more people driven than I'd say Firefly is. If you've played Mass Effect, it's like Mass Effect without the threat of without the threat of the world ending. Because this one, at least in the series, I think I started listening to A Close and Common Orbit, which I think is the second one in the series. But this one, at least, is very much a kind of like the ragtag group of people on a ship vessel, and they don't always get along, and they have really different backgrounds, and there's a lot of drama and confusion amongst them, and there's a lot of infighting. But you have like the captain and some other members of the crew that are like, hey, chill out, we all have a common goal, let's figure this out and let's work together. So while I think the stakes in this are higher than, say, like the Bookshops and Bone Dust series, the stakes are higher, but I think it makes for a cozier vibe because it's a very like found family kind of thing. And I could see myself surviving in this universe. So that's why this is the one that I want to live in the world of. Because everyone's got like high-tech ships and all different types of people that you run into, and you learn about cultural differences, but they still find ways to like talk to each other and find common ground. Like there's some characters that are like I heard your race of people does this. And they're like, I heard people on your planet do this. And then they eventually go, oh, but I guess you don't actually kill people. And the other one's like, oh, I guess you don't actually enslave my people. So it's like that kind of like coming to terms with understanding that our prejudices are not true all the time. So I think it's a, the like sci-fi take of like, don't judge people before you know them.
Real racist to lover story.
I forget what the exact synopsis of like the TLDR of what happens in this, and I think I'm confusing it because I started the second one. Oh, here, I'll say, I can read it off the back. So this one is, they're trying to just, like, chill and, like, do space stuff, but then they get offered a job that seems too good to be true, where they get to tunnel wormholes through space to a distant planet, and the amount they're being paid is enough money to basically, like, live comfortably for years and not have to go, like, job to job and, like, barely make ends meet. But then they start soon realizing that there's a lot of risk involved, and they're like, well, I guess this is why no other crew was willing to take this, because oh my god, this is a terrible time. So like motivated by money and all that, it's like what drives the story. So that is my quick synopsis. And then for recommendations, I would recommend this book to anybody that likes found family. I think this one is a lot easier to get through if sci-fi is not your main genre, because there are some sci-fis that are super heavy and like super focused on the technology. This one has moments where it talks about technology because there are a lot of, with them having to tunnel wormholes, there's some talk about like the science of wormholes and like black holes and all that. And then there's also some talk about like how their spaceships run and all the equipment that they need and like the positive and negatives of like what they're planning to do. But I think it's told well in the context of, even if you kind of like glaze over the science stuff, you can still be on board for the adventure, because it's very adventure driven and like character driven. So even, like, I couldn't tell you the exact science that they use throughout this story, but I can tell you that there are characters in here that made me laugh and other characters that I was like, I hope he just shuts up. And then he finally shuts up and everyone's like, he's not so bad when he shuts up.
That's what
He's good
say
at his
about
job.
Our podcast. They say, man, I wish Hop would talk more, and I wish Itisdpayne would shut up now.
Is that your professional review from our consistent listener that we've gained?
I don't know. I'll learn when this episode comes out.
And you'll forget that we made that joke.
I will completely forget. Yeah. So, hey, you consistent listener, if you make it this far. Hi.
Hello. But yeah, so I would say, like, this looks very thick and very daunting. I think I listened to it as an audiobook. Audiobook is pretty solid, and I think it's worth, like, how big the book is. And I think this edition, the font's a little small in this edition now that I actually looked through it.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
And it could be worse. But
it's 441 pages.
Yeah, when you say the number out loud, that sounds a lot more intimidating.
I will say, like, as I'm flicking through it, there's a lot of, like, dialogue.
It is very dialogue driven, yeah.
So it's not like just straight blocks of text.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just looking through my page. Like, I stopped on a page, and the first thing that's like, "Can I touch it?"
Again, all these different things about people. They're like, "Is it disrespectful if I do this?" And a lot of the times, the characters go, "Yes." Don't.
Well, it's not another person they want to touch, so.
Spoilers.
Oh well. Here, I do have a question.
We promised people no spoilers.
True. I have a question. Can you open to page 123?
Okay. This feels like book club, guys. Welcome to book club.
Yeah. If you guys want us to do book club on this book, go to our Patreon. Is your page normal?
Yes.
Mine's broken. I don't know if it's going to show up. You can kind of see it right there.
Yeah, mine's normal.
Hey, but also, page 138, you can really see how messed up my book is.
What? Where? Maybe it's a good thing I got mine from my local bookstore. Mine's smooth. Mine is one page.
Look,
For audio,
it's a flip up book. I can flip it up and there's nothing there.
yeah, audio listeners, his got chopped up somewhere in like production.
It looked like they ran out of paper and was like, it's fine. Hey, this is a rare copy. Money, baby. And then I swear I like spilled egg or something on it. I don't know what that is.
That's how you know you're really into the book.
I haven't started reading it yet.
Oh, that's how I guess you feel about the book.
It's means how long it sat on my desk for before I'm like, okay, I gotta move this away because I think I spilled something, and I'm like, oh.
I was trying to see. Oh yeah, so I don't have an individual review of this on my book Instagram. I just have it part of one of my wrap-ups. I was trying to see if I could pull up like a quick quote so you guys could like get an idea for the reading. Like, because that's another big thing with like writing style.
Did you put anything on whatever it's called? That other app, the book recording app?
Storygraph.
Yeah. I'm like,
I can look up quotes on like Goodreads because some people will like write down quotes.
Yeah. Also, while you're looking that up, the first thing when you're like, I'm trying to see, and like me in the morning without my glasses.
I would also recommend this book to people that like books that are a little bit more humorous, a little bit more sarcastic, i.e. like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I thought of that because the first quote, that's the most liked quote on Goodreads for this book is Goodreads is 90% of all problems are caused by people being assholes. What causes the other 10%? Asked Kizzy. Natural disasters. But yeah, and then there are some moments in it that are like heartwarming moments. I won't read those out because those seem a little bit more
spicy.
No. When I say growth, I don't mean anything spicy. I mean that like you can only do the best with what you have, like that kind of like positive messaging. Oh, this one I liked. I remember liking this quote because, they're in space. They run into all types. So this quote is, humans' preoccupation with being happy was something he had never been able to figure out. No sapient could sustain happiness all the time, just as no one could live permanently within anger or boredom or grief. And then there's this other quote that encapsulates it. Do not judge other species by your own social norms.
That first quote you just said reminded me of an interaction with Mass Effect where there's just like, I don't understand the obsession with humans and putting windows on their spaceships.
What are you looking at?
I'm like, true.
Good point.
So, yes, but no, that book is on my list to read. I remember seeing it on like a list of good sci-fi books to read.
Yeah, I did really enjoy it. Oh, here's one that I think you'll enjoy, Itisdpayne. Quote, how else could you explain a sapient species that had overpopulated itself to the point of environmental collapse? This was the people that had coupled themselves stupid.
Wow.
So, it's a very sarcastic book and looking at, people and things like that. Mm-hmm. As long as... There's positive moments, but, it is very funny.
Not anymore. No.
But yeah, I wouldn't get too worried about it being a sci-fi. I don't think it's not like, there was one sci-fi I had a friend talking to me about the 3-body problem, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. It got adapted into a Netflix series and all that stuff. And I had a friend, and I was like, do you think it makes for a good show? Because I've heard it's very dense. And he was like, no, but... Because he said to him it read like the author was trying to talk out scientific theories, but via fiction.
Yeah. Well, I've recently heard of this book twice. One from our consistent listener. But I heard it from another person who... I'm trying to remember what he said about it, because he's like, it's... the way he explained it sounds very familiar to the way your friend kind of explained it, but from a different point of view, where it's like it talks about complex scientific theories and like not trying like an old school way of science fiction where it's like here's this like whoop I just punched my mic big science fiction theory problem thing that we're trying to figure out, and we probably won't really know about it, but we're going to try to figure it out along the way. And it's like, it sounds like, hey, you're either going to like that kind of thing or you're not. It kind of sounds a little bit like Arrival, honestly.
Yeah, like I've had people, like I'll tell them that I actually love the science fiction genre. I just don't get to it very often because sometimes I'm like, my brain is like, are we ready? No, not today. We don't have the brain capacity today to really sit there and work through theorems. But this like is labeled as a sci-fi, but it's very like, it's friendly.
It's a fun-fi.
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 Yeah.
That's how I feel like when I do history. I have a book on the Silk Road that I'm like, I want to get through and I want to read. But I'm not ready to go into big historical context. Yeah, a dive on the religious stand-ins on why the Silk Road was and all the wars and names. I'm like, I'm going to get to it eventually because I think it's a pretty neat part of history I don't know about.
It's very fair.
I cut you off, though. You were about to say something else.
Oh, I was going to say that's about all I have to say for this book. Has my timer run out?
You have 2 minutes.
I have 2 minutes. Well, this episode's already over an hour, so we don't.
Now
I'm
it
gonna
can
say
be over an hour and 2 minutes.
I won't keep going on this. You can stop the timer.
You relinquish your time. What did they say? In all the court stuff, I surrender my time.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know.
The one time I did jury duty, nobody did that. We at one point watched a video of like a 40-minute testimony from a doctor. And they were like, don't fall asleep. But they turned out all the lights. And I was like, it's like grade school where you had a substitute teacher and they put on something boring and they turned the lights out. This is rough. Because the doctor was doing the whole like, in this x-ray, this is what it looks like. And I was like, why am I here? What is my purpose?
What is life?
So nobody relinquished or surrendered their time. But yes, you can turn off the timer.
I did.
And I will just say that good books, read them, lots of options. If you have other things that you think fit in this, either one of our recommendations or requests, because mine, as a reminder, D-Payne asked me for a book that grows a desire to live in that world, and I said A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet.
And Hop gave me the prompt of a book that leaves you feeling like a single drop of water in a massive size of the ocean. And I did The Darkness Manifesto, and there's more to the title. You just search The Darkness Manifesto, you'll find it.
Yeah, I don't imagine it's competing with many other titles that they need to know the rest of it.
It does sound like a true crime thing of...
Because Manifesto, yeah.
It's like when I tell this to people I know, like in real life, they just hear The Darkness Manifesto and them being in the church and everything. I was like, it's not like evil or satanistic or anything.
That's funny.
But Hop, what prompt do you have next week?
Next week, D-Payne has asked me for a book that makes you wish for an ability or tool of the world.
I'm really glad I didn't give this prompt to myself.
I think I have an answer. Yeah, I think I have an answer. We have time, though, before we record.
Yes.
Next,
and the prompt that Hop gave me is a book that makes you feel... you highlighted it and then my brain's like, whoa. A book that makes you miss something you've never experienced. My brain just went to like, what would be the worst thing to say as a joke? And I'm like, oh, well, I got some time to do
Speaking of history books, D-Payne's like, I can pull out a couple manifestos that are not good for people.
Anyway, that's this episode. If you guys like, if you like this style, like, cause we like it.
If you want us to have a book club.
Yeah. tell us to start a Patreon, so you give us money so we can have more time to do so.
If you find a Patreon right now, it's not us.
Yeah, if you find it, let us know, because that'd be nice. But anyway, thank you everyone for listening. I don't know, go eat some cheese or something, but until next time, we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.